This is Royce White, the enemy's big three, and you're watching Quick Out the Blocks.
Okay. Guys, Sheena Quick here with Quick Out the Blocks. I'm here with enemy's Royce White. You guys pulled out the victory today over the Ghost Ballers. I expected it to be a little bit closer, but you corrected me when you were on the podium. You know, you had some choice words to say. Is that who you are? Is that Royce White, the fierce competitor?
Yeah, no, I mean, in between the lines, and just when it comes to the sport, anything competition, I'm fiery, and I say what I want, but I say what I want regardless, and it wasn't no harm or foul. You know, Ricky,
right.
Like I said, Ricky's like an idol of mine. I grew up as a young buck watching him, but one of the things you learn is as you start to encounter your idols,
To become your rivals.
Absolutely. So, you know, it wasn't no harm, no foul. He's from my way. I love Ricky.
Your personality seems to fit in perfectly. I don't know did Gilbert pick the players?
Yeah,
You guys mesh perfectly. Like I said before, you guys are one of my favorite followers on social media. You really are the bad boys of the big three.
Absolutely.
How amazing was it to come with this group of guys? Did you ever imagine playing with this group of guys?
No, you know, when I first decided to come play with the big three, I had no clue what was going to happen. And then I got to the combine and some things started to shake out, and we started to see, like, you know, there was chirps about who was going to be selected when. And me and Gilbert actually met the night of the combine where we had our draft lottery.
See, it feels like you guys have known each other for a really long time.
It just
like,
came
the
together
chemistry
so
is
naturally.
insane.
It was so natural. Even Lamar walked up, you know, there was pretty much a consensus that I was going to be the first pick. And then Lamar walked up, and he was the one who selected the ball out of the box.
Nice.
And he picked number one. So I was sitting there talking to Gil in the back, and I was like, you know, I want to play with you guys. And he was like, man, I hope we get number one. And then while we were literally having a conversation, Lamar would have been picked number one. So it was kind of just a destiny thing, you know?
Now, how important is chemistry, more so than being on a team where it's 5-on-5, 3-on-3 is half court, intimate, is much more physical? How much more important do you feel like the chemistry is in a big three and a 3-on-3 league versus traditional 5-on-5 in the NBA?
It's similar, but like you got two more guys to pick up the slack, you know, and it's just everything's exposed in 3-on-3. A lot of people would think that 3-on-3 is easier.
Nah.
But in the half court, I mean, maybe you can make an argument because it's half court, there's less running, and the running, you know, can fatigue you. So fatigue makes cowards of us all, right?
It does.
But there's so much space out there, you know, and you can get exposed. Like even Mike Taylor had me on the wing one time, and he's quick and he's shifty, and it doesn't matter if he's a little bit older or whatever. It's just a lot of space out there. So we got to be able to really just feel each other out. Like we switch out there and we don't even talk about it.
Right.
We just kind of know it because of our styles of play, our skill sets and whatnot.
So for people that don't know, when do you guys get together, I guess, to hold sort of a training camp or thing like that to kind of get to know each other's personalities on the court, since you have never played with each other? Yeah,
we spent the whole week together out in LA before it started. And
now, was that the workout where you guys jumped the fence to get to the track?
They were actually out there a week before, so our whole team is based out of Cali.
Okay.
You know, from Frank, Lamar, Gilbert, Craig, they're all Cali guys, and Perry's the only one who's not, but he actually is out that way too. He's living in Cali, so I'm the only one who doesn't live in California.
Okay.
So they were out there like a week or two before even playing together and working out together. I was the last one to show up, so I wasn't there for the fence jump.
Man, that was funny.
That was hilarious.
You guys are not following, is it Enemies 3?
It's Enemies Big 3.
Enemies Big 3 on Instagram. It is hilarious. The troll game is on 1,000. You know, I live for a good troll.
The Ghostbusters was probably one of the best
ones. It was the
ones.
best one.
So far.
It really was.
Yeah, that was big time.
It was the best one. So do you guys all have a hand in creating that content, or
yeah, we got a group chat. You know, I can't get too specific on the details of the group chat, but we share a lot of ideas on the group chat, and we just got a good group, man. Fun spirited guys, and we're enjoying it.
Now, in Charlotte, Gilbert touched a little bit on the issues or the struggles that you had with anxiety, and he also shared that you weren't alone in this. You were more vocal about it, but there are a lot of guys in the league that suffered or struggle with that problem. What are some of the ways that you were able to overcome that? Because you're playing amazing. Well, you obviously have to fly to get to these games.
Here's the reality: is like the whole anxiety flying thing was overshot. It was overblown. It was a diversion, and I challenged the league about mental health policy. I challenged the fact that, I believe wholly that they're a global corporate community, or they represent one. There's not many industries that aren't involved in the NBA or pro sports. And like I said many times, given that their attitude towards mental health, which is another word for the human condition, is like paramount. It's paramount. There's nothing more important than how the corporate world feels about people.
Yeah.
And so that was my challenge to them, and the scapegoat that they could create, because it made for good headlines, is that, oh, he's scared to fly, or his anxiety is preventing him from playing. But as you see, my anxiety doesn't prevent me from playing, nor does flying,
Correct.
nor has it ever, right? So all of this is kind of a proof of the fact that there's some people that have told some lies, and we're gonna clear that up.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, we're gonna clear that right up.
Now, I will say that working with the NBA, the NBA and the NFL, I helped the Carolina Panthers. They recently hired a mental health professional, so they're trying to get more in tune with some of the problems that I'm not going to say problems, some of the human conditions that you guys can face as professional athletes, whether you're a football player, basketball player, you go home with your dad, your husband. So I think that's very important, and the Panthers owner, David Tepper, made a huge step in making that a part of his organization. Would you like to see, you obviously would like to see some of that from the NBA and these other professional affiliations, right?
You know, it's hard to say. I don't really think there's any one thing specifically that solves it. I think that, and as a matter of fact, I respect what the NFL has done. I think the NCAA was the first to make the step of creating a mental health policy. That was like 3 years after I was drafted. And which is expected, right? Because they're heavily connected to the medical community.
Correct.
A lot of universities have medical
schools,
right? So that made sense. But there's not any one thing. It's more of a cultural issue and an attitude issue. And at the highest level in these professional sport leagues, with the owners and the management, and even across the corporate world, there seems to be an arrogance and a dismissal of medicine and science. And I was talking to some people, over the last couple of weeks about, since this whole thing has happened and I'm obviously flying, and people are like, what's actually going on then? Like, why aren't you in the league? There's a huge roadblock between the language of the legal world, which is the backdrop of the corporate world, about liability, and the strive and the ambition of wellness.
Okay.
So it's not really about like, oh, the players need access to care. It's like, come on, these guys have premium health care. They could go get a psychologist. It's about what they risk in doing so, in terms of their status with the league.
Status and the stigmas and things of that nature.
Exactly.
Now, it's a heavy, I'm not going to say burden to bear, it's a heavy cross to bear to be the face of a movement like that.
Yeah.
Did you have any I guess, misgivings or hesitation when it came to that?
Yeah, I mean, I was thrown into it. I was thrown into it by their attitude. I was triggered into it. When I came to the league, I was more so innocent and you could say in belief that everybody was dealing in good faith. Right. So when we had the discussions, I was kind of just like, oh, I'm here. I'm going to say what's honest, and hopefully we'll be able to work together, collaborate, and figure out what's going on here. And through my experience, I realized that there were a lot of sleight of hands, and there were a lot of hidden agendas, and so on and so forth. So it's not in good faith. But as I started to learn that, it was just a natural. I had to do it. Like, I had been talking about anxiety already since college, so I had a lot of people reach out to me and say that I was an inspiration and shared their darkest struggles with me. And then as I got to the NBA and did the same thing, I got all kind of slander and things from the media, made jokes about flying anxiety and whatnot. But the reality is behind the scenes, I was getting direct messages from people who have dealt with suicide, who are thinking about suicide, who are dealing with anxiety, former troops, former police, former doctors.
Wow.
Doctors have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession in America.
Right.
So with all that in mind, it was just like, there was nothing else for me to do, right? It's just like, no, mental health is a priority. If you guys don't actually acknowledge that and accept that, then we have a problem.
Now, people that have been, I guess, kind of pigeonholed into this tunnel vision of Royce White as somebody that suffers from anxiety or things of that nature, who are you? What are some of the things you like to do off the court?
I'm a family guy, and if I could put it just simply, I'm a person who really believes in people. Okay. I believe in people. I believe we have the ability to transcend our flaws, in the end game. And I read a lot, philosophy and psychology and these things. So I read a lot, I write a lot, and I try and create a lot, creative things that could help people or change the conversation in the right direction, move it in the right direction. So yeah, but I believe in people, and I really believe in my friends.
You believe in remembering stuff too, because we had a conversation first week in Detroit. Of course, I was roasting the security guard because it's kind of just what I do. And I told Royce that that you guys call me Quick. So of course that always triggers the Harlem Nights.
Yeah.
The Harlem Nights comparison.
If you know, it automatically triggers Harlem Nights.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Until you shared one of your favorite quotes from the movie.
Yeah.
You mind sharing it again?
Yeah. When Richard Pryor, Sugar, is giving Quick a talk about his hot-headedness, and how he's kind of being reckless out there, and he wants to go to war with the mob boss, with Calhoun, and Sugar's like, dude, he's got all these people with him, like he's got cops, and he's got these guys, 100,000 goons or whatever, and Quick just looks at him real simply, like matter of fact, and was like, it's not how many people you shoot, it's who you shoot. And it's just like one of the coldest lines, in the movie to me. It's just like, because he was so sure. And he was partially wrong though.
He was.
Because what Sugar was telling was right.
Yeah.
But he also had a point too, though. And Sugar at the end, they had to go at Calhoun because he wasn't gonna let him live.
Well, will you put that in your top 3 movies?
Man, I'm telling you, me and my mom and my family, like Harlem Nights is in the rotation heavily. Like in that time period, it's something about that time period, and
it's very intriguing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, and they did a great job of representing it and recreating that time period. Cotton Club, and it's just a lot of Black history right there.
They're talking about a lot of. Is that where your screen name comes from? The Renaissance Man. Is that kind of that period, that affinity for that point in history where
it's the Harlem Renaissance,
but
but the first Renaissance though too. Like the European Renaissance. Was all about an evolution of science and thought and philosophy. And, it's responsible for the modern world. Some major figures like Leonardo da Vinci is probably mine. It's like Leonardo da Vinci, Muhammad Ali. Those are my 2 items.
So did you like the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah, I liked it.
I read the book and I watched the movie because I'm a nerd.
It's good. It was good. Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
It was a great book. It's interesting.
Guys, there you have it. You got to know Royce White a little bit more. I'm pretty sure that the rest of the Big Three is not looking forward to facing him on the court. He is playing amazing for the enemies. This is Sheena Quick with Quick Out the Blocks.